Hi, friends. This is Jennifer with the Michigan Depression Glass Society. Welcome to our May 2020 at-home meeting. Last month, while we were all practicing social distancing, self-isolating, and sheltering in place, we asked members to post a photo to social media of how they display their glass at home. This month, I'm going to take you inside one of my display cabinets and talk about a small grouping of glass that most of you don't know that I collect. So when we talk about depression glass, we're quick to think of the three main varieties or categories of glass. Elegant glass, such as this Cambridge Chantilly that I keep displayed on the lower shelf of my cabinet, was hand-blown and etched. This high-quality glass was frequently sold in fine department stores and given as gifts at the holidays or to brides as wedding gifts. Depression glass, such as this piece of Cameo by Hocking, is from one of the interior shelves of my cabinet. It's a mass-produced piece. These types of patterns are usually pressed into the glass. This lower quality glassware was sold at 5 and dimes or given as premium items to build brand loyalty. And kitchen glass is the third category, such as this Fire King batter bowl. This glass became the workhorse of the 1930s and 40s kitchens and continues to be enjoyed by many of us. But what we're going to talk about today is at the top of my cabinet, and it is a grouping of what would be considered art glass. Specifically, it's a grouping of glass made by the Blenko Glass company. Blenko is a fourth-generation glass manufacturer with roots going back to the 1880s. But since the 1920s, they've been operating in Milton, West Virginia, and I was fortunate enough to visit there last fall. But before I get into all of that, I will mention this. The Michigan Depression Glass Society is dedicated to the study, education, and preservation of American-made glassware produced into the 1970s. With that said, you won't find glassware manufactured from the 1980s to the present for sale at our annual show or usually discussed at our meetings. But since Blenko's production crosses both sides of this date line, we're making a bit of an exception today because I want to share some knowledge with you as well as my enthusiasm for this extraordinary glass. My first encounter with Blenko was about 25 years ago. PBS Television ran a documentary about Blenko during one of their fundraising drives. By making a generous donation, donors received one of Blenko's iconic water bottles. That was our first piece of Blenko, and it is their only design that has been in continuous production since 1938. As you can see, I own a few water bottles, and if you weren't familiar with these before, you'll start to notice them in various places and when you're in antique malls. They've even been popularized on the cover of national magazines. The other thing that Blenko is very noted for are their tall decorative decanters with extremely artistic stoppers, as well as beautiful lamps and stunning vases. I don't own any of those larger pieces, and I'm by no means an expert on Blenko. But let me show you what I have here and familiarize you with how to identify Blenko. So just because Blenko is considered art glass doesn't mean that it isn't utilitarian. I'll start with a water bottle and demonstrate how easy they are to hold. This bottle has a sticker on the side of it, making it easy to identify as Blenko. It's often easy to determine the production date of a piece of Blenko because the information is occasionally etched right on the underside. I'll show you this piece here. You can see a little bit of light on it. Right in this area, Blenko and the year. But let's say you find a piece of art glass and you'd like to know if it's made by Blenko. Some clues that will begin to lead you in the right direction include the thickness of the glass. Heavier than most elegant or pressed depression glass pieces. You can kind of bring up the thickness here. And whether the piece has a pontil mark. I'll bring up an example of that for you here too. In this area. The pontil mark is where the glass rod called the pontil was used to hold the piece of glass after it was broken free from the blowpipe. Often this is smoothed over and flattened by other companies, but Blenko usually leaves their pontil marks a bit rough. So what else do I have here? Here's a Jack-in-the-Pulpit vase in a lovely, lovely lavender. Again, I'm going to show you the thickness that I was referring to. I'm going to bring up another Jack-in-the-Pulpit vase. This one's smaller. This blue one was not made by Blenko. This was actually made at the Glass House at Jamestown. But I just want to put them side by side so you can get a better feel for the thickness that I'm referring to. And of course, you can see the pontil mark. I have an ashtray here. This is a Blenko piece. It does not have the pontil mark. This appears in their 1960s and 1970s catalogs at least. In 1974, you could have bought this piece new from Blenko for $2.50. Here I've got this lovely vase. It's starting to get some height to it. It's probably about 18 or 20 inches tall. You can see the gradation and the slight arch in this piece. I think later today I'm going to put some red buds in that. What else do we have here to share? Move on to this ruffled basket. This is a newer piece of Blenko. Easy to tell that because right here on its clear label, it even has a website address. Clearly that would be a clue. Again, the pontil mark on the underside. We always remind new collectors to avoid picking your pieces up by the handles. Always support your glass from the underside. One of the more extraordinary pieces that I have here is this jug. This jug is a pattern, a glass color pattern called Snowdrift. This appears to have been produced in 1983. It's an opaque white and transparent blue speckle over a clear glass. This jug is line number 8324. You can see, again, the pontil on the underside, the heavy, thick walls. One of the real fun pieces that I have is this mid-century modern vase. It's clear with these fun circular medallions applied to the sides. This pattern appears in the 1962 production time period. This is their line number 622. And when you see items in Blenko lines that have the letter S or the letter L at the end of the line number, that stands for S small, L large. I also have a few of the newer Blenko items. These are a couple of little glass decorative turtles. Again, these have the dates right on the underside. And when I visited Blenko last fall, I was really excited to buy these architectural bricks. This is a larger one. I'm going to put them out in my garden. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous deep purple. And I have a smaller brick, more of a dark cobalt. So you've heard me talk a little bit about some of the production timelines. That's important if you're trying to determine if a piece is pre or post 1980s, or maybe to better help you gauge the value. The great thing for researchers is that you can just visit the blenkoproject.org, or you can just go out to blenko.com and click on the Learn tab. They have a complete digitized archive of all the Blenko sales catalogs going back to the 1950s. There's some great books available on Blenko too. I've been wanting to visit the Blenko factory for years, and as I mentioned, finally visited last fall. In addition to shopping in their visitor center and seeing a display of vintage Blenko, including some fantastic stained glass, the highlight was stepping into their glass manufacturing plant. I've seen a lot of glass blowing at places like Greenfield Village, Jamestown, the Corning Glass Museum, and at studios here in the Detroit area. Usually I've witnessed a single glass blower working with one assistant. What was special about visiting Blenko is this was my first opportunity to take a step back in time to experience what the manufacture of glass is like on a production level. And while Blenko certainly isn't the size of the Cambridge, Fostoria, or Heisey factories, it was mesmerizing to see the workers collaborate in a clock-like fashion to handle a single piece of glass and move it through each step of the process. I didn't realize that Blenko had filed bankruptcy in 2011 and reorganized in 2013, and I feel we're really lucky to still have this example of American-made glass being manufactured, especially by a company with such a long and rich history. If you really want to catch the Blenko bug, then I suggest you search on Facebook and join one of the Blenko collectors groups. You'll find opportunities to see glass from major national Blenko collectors, ask questions, get help with identification, and sometimes see Blenko designers getting in on the conversations. And if you want to support the arts and support U.S.-made glass, then visit Blenko.com and do some online shopping. I'm pre-recording this in April, and I happen to know that Blenko did have to stop production during the pandemic for the safety of their workers and their customers. But I hope they're back in operation soon. They offer all kinds of fun events and promotions throughout the year and are worthy of our attention. So that's it for our May MDGS at-home presentation on Blenko. If you want to watch some more on this topic, I suggest you visit Blenko.com/Blenko-videos. Meanwhile, I have my mask handy, and I look forward to seeing you all soon, friends, even if I'm only seeing your eyes. Stay safe and enjoy your glass. Bye.